What is a consequence competition? I just made a video about it, but I want to make it very clear how it looks. A consequence competition is essentially a priority list that we all make, and it can have as much as 20 things. Now, in the context of what I'm talking about, which is collective love, typically love is left for last. And why is that? Well, because like the term I created says, it's a consequence competition. Meaning that in that list, people take into account the consequence of not doing what they need to do in the to-do list. Now here lies the key. With you as a priority, typically the consequence is low. They assign a low consequence because that's what you created for yourself. And that's what society builds us and programs us to ask from others. And so what can often happen is that because you're on the bottom of the list of most of the people you care about, friends, etc., you will constantly feel invisible, and like society just doesn't want to give you love unless you really deserve it, unless you're giving them something back immediately to where they need to give you something back for it to be fair. So essentially the consequence of losing you is not present in their mind because you're not defending your own value and how you should be treated, because society programs us to not give priority to love, because it conditions us to believe that there will always be a later. So essentially, it isn't only about the lack of consciousness, but the consequence of losing your existence at any moment and the possibility of that. Also the lack of consciousness about losing your presence at any moment. But above all, when you truly want to apply this concept in the context of collective love, it is about waking up people from their lack of urgency to love, because society programs us to believe that lack of love is not important, that lack of love doesn't have a consequence. Because if you say to people, hey, I think you should be more loving, I think you should make love more a part of your routine, typically they're gonna say, well, why don't you stop being so demanding? Why don't you stop being so needy? Well, I don't think you should need people that much, man. And that's not how it should be. Love is important and it should be a part of our routine. Just like going to work, just like going to school, just like getting groceries, like eating, love is important. So this is not about people losing you as a consequence because your ego needed something specific from them in order to feel validated. No, it's not about that. It's about waking up people from their lack of awareness that love is important, that love should be a part of their routine. So no, this is not just about you, because I personally could offer a consequence and be totally fine alone. This is about them, this is about yourself as well, for self-respect, and it's about the world. People need to know, yes, there is a consequence. Love should not be losing a consequence competition to other things of society, because lack of love is the main reason why the world is so bad. There exists poverty because some rich guy doesn't want to help the poor. There exists schools because if you don't work and you don't get an education, you will starve. All of these things are because someone with more doesn't want to help those with less. That is lack of love. So, in a list, for love to lose a consequence competition makes absolutely no sense. And it shows that whoever sees love as the last priority is lost, is confused. It needs to learn to make it more of a priority. So you might have to offer the consequence of your absence so they can learn for themselves, for you, and for the world. Much love. Take care. And yes, sometimes the greatest act of love we can give to another person is a consequence.